Hello MUCT 113L students, this is your midweek lecture for week 3. Alright, let's get right in to the things that we have been working on lately. And among the new skills we have learned are the modal scales. I know we spent a good amount of last Friday's class on these modal scales, but let's do it again here to review. If you were not able to take complete notes on Friday regarding the modal scales, now's your chance to kind of have everything right there at your fingertips. So if you need to get your, if you need to get your notes out for these, by all means, please do so. So remember how I introduced the modal scales? All of them were able to be related to scales that we already knew. So let's go in the order that we did in class. We'll move the treble clef over just a bit. And double check to make sure that it is visible on the screen just. Okay, we will begin with the key signature for natural minor mode. We have our C natural minor scale here, or as we called it, Aeolian scale, or natural minor, the 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th scale degrees lowered. We were able to find our first modal scale by relating it to this scale. And then remember, this was Dorian, which I nicknamed the half minor scale because the 6th scale degree is raised. Okay, so the 3rd and the 7th scale degrees are raised, but not the 6th. Let's sing this together. Ready, go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Alright, so Dorian, or half minor if you want to think of it that way. Okay, the next scale we connected with major mode, or Ionian, as we mentioned. Major scale is also known as Ionian, okay, with the half steps here, 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 here. And so our half major scale, based on Ionian, with the lowered 7th scale degree. Let's sing this one. And now, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And we called this scale Mixolydian, or also half major. Half major. All the notes of the major scale with one extremely important exception of the 7th scale degree. Okay, so we have half minor Dorian, half major Mixolydian. Let's find the other scales. So we had the half scales. Now we add these super scales. So this is related to minor mode. We start with Aeolian, or natural minor, with 3 lowered pitches in the scale, and then we lower one more out of the circle of fifths. Just go to the next one, which is the 2nd scale degree. Phrygian, or as we called it, super minor. Phrygian, with a lowered 2nd scale degree, providing that downward leading tone on Ra. Alright, ready, go. Do, ra, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, ra, do. Good. Super minor, and then super major. Starting with the Ionian, or the major scale, and adding one more raised note, which was the fourth scale degree to Fi. Ready, and do, re, mi, fi, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fi, mi, re, do. And super major was Lydian. Okay, and that left us with one more scale. One more scale that we related to the natural minor a little further, or more distantly related, super duper minor. That was our Locrian scale, second scale degree on Ra as in the Phrygian, and on Se, lowered fifth scale degree. Let's sing this one. Ready, go. Do, ra, mi, fa, se, le, te, do, te, le, se, fa, mi, ra, do. And those are the 5 new scales that we learned. Okay, we're not going to sing any more modal scales. I mean, not in this midweek remote lecture. We'll sing some modal melodies out of the Berkowitz book on Friday as a way of review of those modal scales. But now let's just sing major and natural minor just to kind of get those things back in our head, and we'll sing a couple of examples, standard examples, out of the Berkowitz book. So let's just do major now. Major mode, ready, go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And now let's do natural minor. Ready, go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, le, te, do, te, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. All right. So that's it for the review of the scales. We will look over these again on Friday's class, Friday of week 3, and we will at that time also start trying to sing the scales in order and see if we can keep our intonation up, okay, with 10 scales instead of 5, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so open up your Berkowitz books to page 44. Page 44. And there on page 44 you will, there are a couple of examples. We're going to sing 3 examples here. And there's going to be an interesting theme. All 3 of these are going to be in the key of A flat major. I'm not sure why they put 3 A flat major examples in a row, but so they did. So page 44 in the Berkowitz, beginning with 187. I'm sorry. That's our A flat's a little low. If you need to jump octaves, you can. You can, but let's try this. First, let's analyze this briefly because there are a couple of interesting things in this example. Of course, we see do, mi, sol. We're outlining the 1 chord in the major there. And if you look at the 5th measure, at the mezzo forte, fa, la, do, outlining the 4 chord. Look at the 1st measure of the 2nd line, sol, ti, re, 5 chord. And you might think, well, that's it, okay, 1, 4, 5, and then 1 with 1. But it's not just the 5 chord they're outlining in the 2nd line. Look at both the measure, the 1st measure and the 2nd measure of the 2nd line, you'll see what else. We'll see what is being further outlined. Sol, ti, re, ti, re, fa. Major minor 7th chord, 5, 7. If you look 4 measures from the end, you see very nearly the same thing. Do, mi, sol. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Sol, ti, re, fa. Okay, and you see each of those instances, that fa, which is the 7th of the 5/7 chord, is, as it should, moving downward. All right, so let's go ahead and sing all of this. Make it a point to follow with the dynamics too. 1 and 2 and 3. 3. Do, mi, sol, sol, la, sol, mi, re, do, re, mi. Fa, la, do, do, re, do, la, sol, fa, sol, la. Sol, ti, re, re, ti, re, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol. Sol, sol, ti, re, fa, mi, re, do, mi, sol, do. Alright, so as you can see, that 16 bar example was basically just an outline of the 1, 4, 5, 7, and 1 chords. Okay, that's very often the case, is that the implied harmonic progression underneath the melody is usually a very simple progression. Alright, let's try number 188, same key. This time it starts on mi. Okay, and let's make sure that we sing it at a more moderate tempo because there are 16th notes. So I'll give you one subdivided measure and we'll come in on 188. 1, 2, E, and 3, and 4, mi, re, mi, fa, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, do, fa, fa, sol, la, sol, re, mi. Re, fa, re, mi, do, ti. Re, fa, re, sol, la, ti, do, mi, re, fa, la, fa, mi, re, do, re, do. And that fermata, of course, is held as long as the conductor tells you to. So, of course, that will change depending on the situation. All right, turn the page over to page 45. Number 189, ballando. All right, we're still in the key of A flat major here, Do. This one is only slightly different because there are rests in most every measure. So just make sure you do those accurately. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3, Do, mi, do, sol, mi, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, do, la, fa, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, sol, re, sol, do, re, mi, fa, re, do. All right, so that's the end of the Berkowitz just for today. But let us do a little bit of the Kazez. Go to your rhythm reading book, please. To the Kazez rhythm reading books, page 70, 70. And we'll do a couple of examples. We didn't do any last Friday. We will do some Kazez examples this coming Friday, so we don't forget our principles of subdivision, our simple meter with the half note beat. Let's review. Let's review a couple of things and go on. So beginning on page 70 with number 130, 130, where it says à la brève, so they're giving you cut time. Cut time is equivalent to 2/2 time in which the half note is receiving the beat. This is probably the first non-standard or non-traditional meter any of us have encountered, probably in 6th grade band or something like that. But the half note receives the beat. Now looking at number 130, please keep in mind that there are different dynamic levels. There are some crescendos. There are some meter changes. We go from the cut time or 2-2 to 3-2 in the bottom, and then back after a couple of measures, where the crescendos are. There's also the matter of that 2-bar rest. Make sure you count through that. Subdividing all the time. 1 and 2 E and do, 1 E and 2. T, T, ticky, ticky, T. T, T. T, 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 T. Ticky, ticky, T, T. Ticky, ticky, T, T. T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, 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 ticky, 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 T. Okay, 131, this is just a preparatory drill, but this is just with the short and 2 longs, or the long and 2 shorts, and then 2 shorts and long. You'll see what this is like. 131, just like in simple meter where the quarter note receives the beat. 1 and 2 E and do, 1 E and 2. T, ticky, T, ticky, T. Ticky, T, ticky, T, T. T, ticky, T, ticky, T. Ticky, T, ticky, T, T. Good, and we're going to do one more in the kazez, just one more. Number 132, make sure that your kazez book is open flat because this goes to both sides. Just in the way of review, scanning through that, you're probably going to notice that you see that. Remember our discussion of measured tremolo. Remember that the number of slashes refers to the number of flags, the notes that you're filling this larger note value with. Okay, so we start off with a half note, and it's telling you fill it with as many 1 flag notes, which are 8th notes, as fit in this half note. As we know, 4 of those fit in there. So that's just a shorthand way to tell you to go tiki tiki. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 examples of that. Remember, we're in 4/2 time, so you are going to see some dotted semibrevs or dotted whole notes. Those will receive, in this case, 3 beats. All right, let's give it a try. 132. 1, 2 E and 3 and 4. T, T, ticky, T, ticky, T, 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 ticky, T, 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 ticky, T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, T, ticky, ticky, T, ticky, T, T, ticky, T, ticky, ticky, T, T, ticky, T, ticky, T, ticky, ticky, T, off. And just a reminder, especially those of you who may not have watched the previous midweek lecture, this is a brev, which is equal to a double whole note. A double whole note, and in 4/2 time, this will take up an entire measure. Okay, let's move quickly on to the other new concept that we introduced in last Friday's class, that of pre-harmonic dictation 2. Pre-harmonic dictation 2. To review, okay, as always, You're dictating a bass line. And then filling in the chords based on your knowledge of both the bass line and the qualities of the chords themselves. Okay, so we start. So you're going to listen. I'm going to play through it a number of times. You will write the bass line down, and then you will write the chord and the inversion. Okay, so remember our principle here. Extrapolation or deduction. I remember a couple of you guys liked better. Extrapolation. I think I spelled that right. If not, I'm sure you can correct me on Friday. That is when you encounter a note, a bass note, you're basically gathering all the data you can and extrapolating the answer based on the data. For instance, if you heard in the penultimate note that there was mi in it, third scale degree, an E, you would know that, well, because I know that there is an E in the bass line, it cannot be 2, because 2 doesn't have an E. It cannot be 4. It cannot be 7. It cannot be 5. So your only choices are, it could be 1, because that would be the third of the 1 chord. It could be 3, the root of the 1 chord. Or it could be 6, the fifth of the 6th chord. Okay. Then, knowing what the quality of the chord is will give you the rest of the answer. So you hear that this was a major triad. That eliminates 3 and 6 because they are not major and tells you that it is indeed 1/6. Okay, so remember the principle of extrapolation. It's a very important, even though it's relatively easy now, or it's relatively straightforward now, it will start to get a little bit more complicated, and especially when we throw 7th chords into the mix. So make sure that you're going through the process as I've done it, because it will be very important that you have the proper process of extrapolation when we start getting a little bit more complicated. All right, this will be the part of your assignment that you will turn in for attendance on Friday. There will be 4 examples. So get a piece of staff paper and number 1, 2, 3, and 4. There will be 4 of these that we're going to do. Here's number 1. And I'll tell you this now as a little bit of a hint. Number 1 and number 2 are going to be related in some way, as are number 3 and number 4. Those 2 will also be related. I think you'll get what I'm getting at here once you hear this. Yeah, do the best that you can. Do the best that you can, and we will review these in next week's class. All right, let's start with number 1. 5 chords, Do in the bass, major 1 in the space beneath. I'll play each of these 2 times. Here we go. Ready, and. Again. Okay, so make sure you can listen to that as many times as you need to get the accurate bass line, though the bass line is relatively smooth, and also the qualities of the chords, so you can make a good attempt at getting the actual chords. All right, this is number 2, and as I mentioned to you before, this is related in some way to number 1. Here we go. Ready? do it again. Be sure to use all your powers of extrapolation with that one. All right, here now we move to number 3. Starting the same way. And just keep in mind that not all bass lines are completely stepwise. It is possible to have some leaps. Ready, and... Hear it again. All right, and number 4. Which, as I mentioned before, is related to number 3. Here we go. One more time, and oh, excuse me, that was incorrect. And one more time, this is the second time through number 4. Ready, and Alright, so be sure that you number those 1, 2, 3, and 4. Have it ready on a separate sheet of staff paper. As many of you did, you can cut the piece of staff paper to just as small as you need, just so you can be as efficient as possible with your staff paper. Great. I'm looking forward to going over these with you and continuing on through the process. We'll see you guys on Friday.